Well, hello, and welcome to the last part of the Power Punctuation podcast. If I sound a little down, it's because I got some kind of 24-hour flu right after Thanksgiving. I woke up all sickly and just kind of got worse through the day and ended up lying in a kind of hallucinogenic haze watching dumb Thanksgiving movie marathons on the Comedy Network. But the good news is, I saw The Breakfast Club again. It's not a bad movie, and except for the part where I think it's Ali Sheedy gets a makeover. That was really disappointing. I liked her better before the makeover. All right, here we go. Last part of Power Punctuation. Hi, Mom. Tell Buddy he doesn't have to keep on calling me to say thanks. I'm just glad that he and Carla are all right. Tell him to enjoy his promotion. When I got to the office this morning, I found Winquist wearing his old-fashioned pusher's uniform. I hadn't seen it since the day we met. I was surprised by how normal he looked in it. He could have been any pusher. Well, aren't you dressed for success? I asked him, ironically. He spun around and said, I've got something new. For 3 of the days that you're here, I'm going to be on the truck with Vasquez. You fill in for me, take any calls, handle any business. Order up some movies. We'll meet up on the 4th day here, and I'll answer any questions you have. If something urgent comes up, give me a call. I felt a little out of my depth, but I wanted to demonstrate my take-charge attitude to Rehnquist, so I smiled and said, Can do, boss. Knock 'em dead. Tony came in and snorted a snide laugh at Rehnquist. Rehnquist raised an eyebrow at me, and I took the hint. What are you smirking at, mister? I barked, like my old Sarge. You find something amusing about the official uniform of a representative of this organization? He cast his eyes down and mumbled, No. I was enjoying myself. I said, I can't hear you, mister. Tony looked at me, his eyes focused in the space beside my head. No, sir, he said. Get downstairs and see what the pinheads on the 3rd floor are shredding. Sort it, box it, and have it on my desk by lunch. Hear me? Yes, sir, Tony shouted and hustled out of my office. Rehnquist shook his head and looked admiringly at me. Sonny boy, you're going to do just fine, he said. You know it, I said. Rehnquist gave me a big thumbs up and left me alone. So there I was, alone, in my office, in charge. Sort of. I played with my TV for a while. The TV at the office gave me all kinds of access I didn't have at home. I clicked on something, and there were the personnel files. I felt like a snoop, but it was too much fun to stop. I opened my file, and Vasquez's, and a bunch more. Boy, the company sure knows a lot about us. My file went all the way back to the infirmary where I was born, and I clicked your name, and there was everything about you. Mom, I didn't know you had your tubes tied. I followed our family tree up and down, and I came to Buddy. His file was spotless, all the way up to the spying thing. I clicked on the name of the security manager who'd caught him, and do you know what? He was engaged to Carla last year. Carla is his ex-girlfriend. Well, it was pretty easy to see what was going on, let me tell you. Buddy got married to Carla, and her ex-boyfriend had them locked up. I tell you, I was so angry I felt like I would bust. But I'm smarter than that. All it took was a few minutes typing, and wham, I'd gotten Buddy and Carla out of jail, given them promotions, and had the security manager busted down to janitor. I bet that confused him. So it really wasn't much. It scares me to have all that power, Mom, but it feels good, too. I'm sure that all my friends back home were set up. I made sure that all my friends back home were set up all right, too. You just wait till your Christmas bonus, Mom. Tony came up at lunchtime with 3 big boxes of papers. He'd sorted out the memos, personal documents, and the interdepartmental communications. They were pretty interesting reading, especially the personal documents, shopping lists, letters home, love notes, and gossip. It was like being the queen ant sitting in the middle of the hill, seeing what all the drones were up to. I sent Tony out to get some more. It was getting on to movie time when the phone on my desk rang. I answered it. Jasper Whitehead, Special Vice President. The person on the phone shouted at me, Get me McBride, now! I felt sick. I said, I'm sorry, he's not available right now. I'm filling in for him. Can I be of service? The person laughed at me. Well, maybe you can at that, son. Rehnquist has been promising to do something for me for months now, and I guess he's just been too busy. Do you have his access codes? I said I did, and turned to my TV. Good boy, he said. Now, I want you to find docket 09.3457. You know how to open a docket. I told him I did, and I found the docket. It was called Microsoft, and it had a long action item list attached to it. I didn't really get most of the action items, but they were all checked off, except one. Okay, there's an unchecked item at the bottom of the list. It's called Deploy Strategic Negotiation Tool. You see it? I said I did. Check it off, he said. I did. The TV asked me if I was sure. I said I was. The TV asked me again. I said I was again. I told the man I was done. Good kid, thanks. Tell McBride I like his new hire. He laughed again and hung up before I could say, You're welcome. My phone rang. It was a reporter from PR43, and she wanted to know all about my dynamic leadership in handling the Microsoft crisis. I said I didn't really understand the question, but they taught me what to do. I didn't really understand the question, but they taught me what to say to the press in BASIC. I said, the Filegator organization is a diverse multinational sovereign power that is a world-class leader in its fields of operations, a status it has achieved through the diligence and responsibility of its human resources, which are at the heart of every organization. The reporter sounded impressed. I thanked her and hung up and turned on the TV and flipped around. There was a reporter lady on the screen showing satellite maps of Microsoft, like a weather map, except that instead of lightning bolts or a smiling sun, there were tanks and soldiers and flames. The TV said that bold directives from Special Vice President Jasper Whitehead had brought an end to the Microsoft conflict. He said that a classified number of Filegator troops had occupied the conflict zone, deploying strategic neurotoxins and non-lethal influenza vectors, resulting in an 85% compliance and conversion rate among the Microsoftians. Tony came in with more boxes and looked at me. He said, "God, what's eating you?" I told him. I didn't know what else to do. I thought that maybe I could get Rehnquist on the phone, but he'd left me in charge. Tony smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "Well, there you go. You've made your first executive decision." I said, "I didn't make any decision." He just laughed and pointed to the TV, which was showing pictures of a city just like Filegator, the buildings all collapsed and burning. He said, "Sure looks like an executive decision to me." The picture panned over an apartment building that was split down the middle, the apartments naked and exposed, the people who lived there dead and sprawled or alive and hanging over the edge, vomiting. Oh, those poor people. I didn't know what I was doing. I spent all last night throwing up, and I'm not sure if I'm going to go to the office today. Hi, Mom. Well, I didn't go to work yesterday. Instead, I got out of bed, sat on the sofa in my shorts, and turned on the movies. My watch got loud and angry, so I stuck it underneath my pillow. Then messages started appearing on my TV. I ignored them. I ate some cereal around 11, but I threw it up right away, so I stopped trying. Someone knocked on my door after lunch, but I was watching a good part in Wall Street, so I didn't answer it. I fell asleep after Wall Street and woke up after 18 hours because someone was really giving my door a pounding. I opened the door, not caring that I was wearing my shorts. It was Rehnquist. He looked sad and beaten. Do you know what he did? He gave me a hug. Boy, that was weird. He came in and sat on the sofa. I sat next to him. He didn't say anything, just picked up the remote and put on a funny movie, Blazing Saddles. When that was over, he put on The Princess Bride. I never laughed so much. We watched movies all night. They were all funny. That took my mind off things. We both fell asleep, sitting on the sofa, but when I woke up, I was in bed, and Rehnquist had put the blanket over me. He was asleep on the sofa, his phone was on the TV, and its batteries were on the floor. I was really hungry, so I ate 3 bowls of cereal and some toast and an apple, and I must have woken Rehnquist up because he came into the kitchen. "Little man, you had a busy day, huh?" he said. I said, "I can't do it." He got a Gator Cola out of my fridge and drank it. It was pretty strange to have the CEO of the whole company drinking a Coke in my kitchen for breakfast. It made him seem like you and me, not like the powerful guys from the story. He burped. He said, "I understand." I said, "Why did you do this to me?" He said, "You've been in my shoes now. Wouldn't you do anything to get out of them?" I said, "But why me?" He sighed. He said, "This sounds worse than I mean it. I thought you were ignorant enough to enjoy it." I said, "Thanks a lot. Is there anyone out there who doesn't think I'm a retard?" He said, "I didn't mean it in a bad way, really. I thought you were just naive enough to just do the job, take the perks, and sleep well at night. I was wrong. You're too smart." It didn't make me feel any better. I went back and sat on the sofa and put on a movie, Horse Feathers. Rehnquist watched the movie with me, and when it was over, he said, "You don't have to do the job." He said, "So what now?" I said, "So what now? You pick some other poor retard and give him the old screw job?" He said, "I guess so." I said, "In that case, I'll do it." His mouth dropped. He sat down and put on a movie, Pink Flamingos. What a sick movie. When it was over, he said, "In that case, I'll do it." And then I had the best idea I've ever had. It was so good, I couldn't say anything for 5 whole minutes. "Mom, you sure didn't raise any idiots." "Hi, Mom. Well, today was just fine. Me and Rehnquist got to the garage in the nick of time, and it's a good thing that he turned our watches down because they'd give me a headache. Vasquez was waiting for us when we got there, and he had on his mad face for the other guys, but when me and Rehnquist got on the truck, he smiled and winked at us. I drove, and Rehnquist hung on the back, and he shouted at me to go faster, and I just ignored him. He kept on shouting, saying, You pinhead, my grandma drives faster than you do, and she's been dead for years. And that made me laugh so hard I nearly rolled the truck, and Rehnquist nearly fell off, and he was pretty quiet after that. We got to Finance 38, and I started lifting the boxes, and Rehnquist, as usual, took too long to push them. The security guard and me both laughed at the big pile of boxes outside the truck, and he offered me a smoke, but I said no thanks. I went inside and told Rehnquist to get it in gear, and he just tossed me the paper he was reading. It said, Memo to all employees regarding new security measures, and underneath it said, effective immediately, all AC outlets are to be covered when not in use. We laughed and laughed and laughed, and then my watch blipped back on, even though Rehnquist had turned it off. It said, Laugh it up, retards, in Tony's voice. Rehnquist put his arm around my shoulders, and he said, Jap, my prodigy, when you are right, you are right. He's the perfect man for the job.